Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 3, and this movie is directed by Sam Raimi, and this movie is pretty infamous for being bad, and the studio interference that went into this movie because they wanted Venom in the movie, and Sam Raimi didn't want to put Venom in the movie, so in the end we just have what the studio wanted, and I didn't like this movie very much. And I haven't seen this movie since I first saw it in theaters. I saw this movie when it first came out, and I was like 10 years old at the time. I'll be honest with you, I loved it. I thought it was just pretty much everything that I wanted. I had so much fun watching it in the theater. Because I was such a huge fan of Spider-Man that what they did in this movie didn't really bother me, and I was just like, watching the movie and just enjoying all these characters that I loved being on screen. And rewatching it as an adult, this movie doesn't really work for me, and there are some good things about it. I like some of the performances. I like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I think he's still great, and I mainly liked the side characters that don't really have much to do and are not new into this movie. And what I mean by that is they haven't been in the previous two movies. Like, I like J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. He was pretty funny. Bruce Campbell, his cameo in this movie was really funny. It's probably my favorite out of the entire trilogy. And whenever Aunt May was on screen, I thought the movie worked really well. I think she's probably one of the best parts of the movie, as far as characters that I like to see. I liked the visual presentation of this movie at times. There were some fun shots in this movie that were nice and creative, and I think they worked really well. This movie was entertaining throughout for the most part. It wasn't really boring. I was never bored, and I was never thinking to myself, get on to the next scene because of the pacing. Keep that in mind. And that's about all of my positives. And just thinking about my problems with this movie, I have absolutely no idea where to start. I guess I'll just start with the idea that putting three villains in a movie is not a very good idea. And we have the New Goblin, we got the Sandman, and we got Venom. And in a movie that's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, they don't really fit very well together, and I guess I'll just go from the New Goblin, then Sandman, and then to Venom. New Goblin, played by James Franco, he doesn't work. The series has been building to him, which I like. I liked how it was building. I liked the build-up, but the payoff, it didn't work for me. I didn't really enjoy the action scenes. They weren't really all that fun for me. They were never exciting, and I didn't really care all that much about what was going on, and it was kind of predictable how things would end up, because it's like, that things aren't going to end like 40 minutes in. It's like, that's not going to happen. And Harry Osborn in the movie, he has amnesia at one point, and it just stalls for time, and you have Peter and Harry remembering the good old days back in high school and like reconnecting with each other, and then some other stuff happens, and eventually Peter Parker gets the black suit, because Venom attaches himself to Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and then we get some scenes where it's just really embarrassing to watch, like when it's emo Peter. That's when the movie gets really bad for me. I was cringing, and I don't even know how I was able to continue looking at the screen because of what was being shown to me. It was so embarrassing, and I wanted to turn it off. I just couldn't stand it, and the only times I could watch it were when it was funny bad. And this series is known for being really cheesy and stupid, but this movie just goes too far, and I found the characters to be really annoying, and the first two films, they earn that cheese because there's it's likable, it's fun, and the overall tone and presentation as to whether or not I'm supposed to be laughing with it or at it, it's more confusing in this movie because of how it's presented, and I just I'm just sat there confused as to whether or not I'm supposed to be enjoying this or laughing with it, laughing at it, because of how bad it is. And I haven't even gotten to the visual effects. Wow. My biggest issue with the visual effects is with Sandman. Whenever he's like turning into sand, it looks really bad and very dated, and even worse than the previous two movies. And it just didn't age well. And that's another thing that drags these action scenes down for me, is that the visual effects, they're very noticeable, and it's just bad. And the music wasn't even composed by Danny Elfman. It was composed by Christopher Young, I believe his name is. And the music in this movie just doesn't work for me all that well. And it doesn't make any scene intense or fun to watch. It's just distracting. And it's more jazzy this time for some reason, whenever they're not using themes from the previous two movies. And I didn't think that was a good choice. And moving into The Sandman, I already talked about the visual effects and they just don't look very good. I thought his motivation was fine, but aside from that, he's not really a character that I care about, nor do I find very threatening. And another thing, without spoiling anything, they add in a little thing about his character that just I really hated. And I haven't even gotten to Topher Grace in this movie. I thought he was horrendous. And he was either just really annoying or laughably bad. And I couldn't stand him in this movie. And I thought the character of Venom in this movie and the design of the character was just really lame. He just kind of looks like a dude in this movie, and the fact that they included Venom in this movie is so stupid. And there are so many scenes in this movie that just start and end, and there's like very little like subplots going on that end within like 2, maybe 3 scenes. Like, not throughout the entire movie, but like what I mean by that is like sprinkled in there. Like start scene, next scene still going on, and last scene, and then it ends. Like 3 scenes right after one another. And there's plenty of things like that in this movie that I just find irritating. There's also 2 love triangles in this movie, and I didn't really enjoy it. And I haven't even mentioned that all of the new characters that are introduced in this movie, I didn't like a single one of them. I thought they were all poorly handled, and really this movie is just filled with annoying characters, and even Spider-Man to a certain extent is kind of annoying. It's like he does certain things that are just really stupid. Like, why would you do that? It's like kissing Gwen Stacy in front of an entire crowd of people, like in the upside down, like in the first movie, like that iconic scene where Mary Jane kisses him. That's how he kisses Gwen Stacy in this movie. And it's just like, why would you do that? As far as the story goes, the only time I was really liking the movie was the first 10 minutes, really. And a couple of scenes that I kind of liked, where it's just Aunt May and Peter talking, and some funny scenes with J.K. Simmons. But that's about it. There's tons of really bad scenes in this movie, and this movie doesn't really come together very well, and how things are just presented and portrayed are just not very good, and I honestly just can't imagine rewatching this movie. And I haven't seen any of these movies for a long time, and rewatching Spider-Man 1 and 2, I thought to myself, those were really fun and awesome, and I could rewatch them any day, any time. Why have I not revisited the series for so long? And rewatching the third movie, I know why I haven't rewatched this series for a while. It's because this one just leaves a sour taste in my mouth, because it just doesn't live up to both the first two, and it's not as good movie on its own either. And I guess that's why I found it so difficult to come back to this series for so long, is because of this movie. And that's about all I have to say about Spider-Man 3. It's not a good movie. I can't even recommend it if you want to complete this trilogy. I think it just ruins the first two movies, and it doesn't work as a standalone film, and there are some good things about it. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I can't recommend anyone to watch this movie. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Spider-Man 3 a 4 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of Spider-Man 3, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Creed. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.